Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly.
Okay, welcome to the Village of Wappingers Falls meeting of the Mayor and the Board of Trustees for April 22nd, 2020. Tonight's meeting will be a budget discussion meeting where we will present the proposed budget in its current form and ask the board if they would like to put this up for adoption on April 29th at the budget hearing. Tonight's meeting has been brought to you by YouTube. It's a Zoom meeting that we're having on the budget hearing night. There'll be a process for you to make comments and to participate in the meeting. You, until then, can make comments on the website by submitting a question on our website. So that's at wappingersfallsny.gov. Okay, so before we get started, I would like to do the Pledge of Allegiance. So please place your right hand on your heart and we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and
and
to
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You don't stand up.
Okay. Thank you. And I'm going to do the roll call tonight because John Karge could not be with us. So I am here. That's Matt Alexander is here. And Attorney Wallace.
Here.
And Trustee Davis.
Here.
Trustee Witten.
Here.
Trustee Panessa.
Mute.
Here.
Trustee Komornick.
Here.
Trustee Markajon.
Here.
And Trustee Huber.
Here.
Okay, very good. So tonight's meeting, we will take a look at the proposed budget. So I'm going to share the screen. And I'll just let you know that we're very concerned about the future when we've looked at this budget. So the Finance Committee met earlier today with myself, and I spoke with Trustee Komornick also. And we are concerned about the future 12 months especially, and we know that there is a high degree of instability and uncertainty surrounding many of our income streams, our revenue streams coming into the village, as well as some of the expenses that we have. So tonight's budget is meant to be a representation of the least amount of money that we can spend. It would only give raises to the people who work for us, who are in a bargaining unit, who have already bargained for and received wages. So their wages would follow the contract that we have with them as it was signed about a year ago. So I'll put up the budget now, and this is so we'll start with the A fund, and this is the taxpayer fund. And so it shows an increase of 2% in the tax levy. It shows penalties staying the same. And if you'll notice, the sales tax we have at $150,000, which is down about 12%, 25% of the prior year. And we put in there the stated limit of what the county would share with us based on our contract with them for sales tax distribution. Utility tax is that comes in from Central Hudson and other smaller utilities, and that stays approximately the same. We kept that a little lower than what we actually received this year. Cable TV is doing well these days, so we kept that the same. The lake fees are staying the same as the budget. We did receive an audit. We audited that number and found out that Central Hudson owed the company more money, and we received a royalty on whatever they received. So we do not have anything in here for a summer camp this year. If that were to change, if for some reason suddenly we were able to do that, we would add revenue here, and we would also add expense into the expense line. We show zoning fees and planning board fees of $50,000 each. That is highly susceptible to uncertainty. We don't know how developers are going to respond to what's going on with new development. We do have some developers who are still talking to us about their future planning board applications. We have written down the fines. This is for both traffic tickets as well as other fines that are brought in through the village. And so we've written them down from $135,000 to $80,000. So we have some smaller amounts in here. The state aid, we are not sure if they will increase their state aid, but this has been the same amount. We've been receiving the same $44,000 for the last, I think 12 years or 13 years. The mortgage tax we kept conservatively low. We don't show any other support coming in other than some money from the state. From grants, and we show an interfund transfer. This is where we charge for the services from one fund to another. So these are paying for the services of people who work for more than one fund. For instance, if we have a highway employee who does work for the water fund or the garbage fund or the sewer fund, we reimburse the fund here. And so that is the revenue stream that we're proposing. And just so you know, we've put this proposed budget on the website. You can see it tonight. It might still say tentative budget, but this is not the tentative budget that was proposed. We have, since we did the tentative budget, we've met with some of the most of the departments, and we met with them by phone, and we discussed their future possibilities, and we will continue to do that this week. So we have reduced the expenses by about the revenues by about $320,000. And when we get to the expense page, we show either keeping the same amount, basically the same salaries for the trustees, small amounts for some downtown items. We keep 100. We have the courtroom salaries going up. It's due to two things. It's due to the new laws surrounding reform for different court processes. And it also has a higher number in contractual for the same reason. It also shows that the employees will be getting their contractual collective bargaining increases in salaries. The mayor's salary stays the same, and lots of people ask this question. There are two other places where the mayor gets a salary, and that's through the water board and the sewer board. And they all three of them stay the same. The contractual line will go down. Accounting services, because we will be doing a review of our financial statements. We have the treasurer and at the salary, and an assistant treasurer coming in because we are required to have a cash receipts function in place. And we show equipment staying pretty much the same and the contractual staying a little bit lower. We do have need for services for a fiscal agent. We took a cut on the Business and Professional Association. We do show the clerk. That is not an increase in his salary, but that is a slight increase in the number of hours. He would be going from 20 to 24 hours. And the garbage clerk and the staff assistant and the grant writer. The grant writer's entire salary is not here. It's also in the funds for which the grant writer does work. And we did a new website, and this shows the website fee, annual fee. The attorney line stays the same. You do see a decrease in the amount of projected contractual items. There were some items of litigation that have been completed, and that's not expected to keep going at the same rate it was last year. We have some items which were, we have engineering of 7,500, and we show some grants. We have quite a few grants outstanding, and they're shown here. And much of that work has already been committed to and will be supported with grant money coming in. So we have building lines that we put here. We have kept the building lines in because the truth is that the buildings do require maintenance and they do have costs associated with them. So we added a new line for the police building, and we show the firehouse, village hall, zoning building, the Mizzier homestead, as well as the police station. It's not anticipated that there will be an increase, but we are trying to get confirmation of that. In the insurance, we have dues here. They're the same, and they allow us to get assistance through a couple of different organizations. One of them is the New York Conference of Mayors. We have claims that came out. The village did pay a large claim. You can see it here for $150,000 in the past year, but we also received, I believe, Craig, $110,000 from the insurance company.
$1,000 from the insurance company.
Yep.
So it was a minus 60.
So there's a charge for the MTA tax that comes out of our payroll. We do show a contingency. We've put a large contingency in place of $120,500 because of the high degree of uncertainty. The police payroll that you see here is to pay for all of the salaried people in the police department, as well as, and it would only include 2 people on each shift 3 times a day, 365 days a year. There are some added amounts in here to take care of anybody who stays over for shifts. We do have some, if there is some special event that happens, we did add about $10,000 just for the possibility of some special event or some emergency event. Also, it could be used for if they're needed. So that's just to make sure that we have enough to pay for emergency services. The dispatchers we have in at $209,000. That is increased from the budgeted amount of $190,000 because we found that with the new bail reform and some of the new rules that were passed last year, that we saw an increase in the need for overtime. So we actually have one of the dispatchers working on paperwork for the police department. We left training money in there, and we don't show any purchase of new equipment this year in this budget. We kept the office supplies where they are. The fuel, we have it a lower amount than was budgeted last year, and that might even be lower than what we are actually spending this year at $20,000. We kept the repairs at the same level. That's a guess anyway. And then the uniforms and car washes are the same. Okay, the fire, we show it is approximately the same as it was in the past. We do show an additional $12,561 in turnout gear. And so that is pretty much the most significant difference there. And we increased the amount for training and physicals. And also we have a separate line item in there for fuel that we kept at $8,000. And you'll see in the line that most of the fuel was included incorrectly last year in the contractual line. For the safety inspection, we show the salaries for the 3 individuals who work in our zoning, our code enforcement division. They're the same as have been bargained for, and if they're not part of a bargaining unit, they would stay the same amount. We do show an increase for the part-time employee because he was just hired, and we have equipment staying at the same and the contractual going down a little bit, and property maintenance that gets charged on taxes would still happen, but there would be a corresponding item on the revenue side, so that would be the same. We have the ambulance coming in. I think we signed an agreement with them, and there are some stated increases going forward, and this should be in line with that. And we have the portion of the highway department which is charged directly to the A fund goes here, and the portions that would get charged to the garbage, water, and sewer fund go on those fund locations. There's no equipment here for this year, and we show the contractual line at $124,000. You see it's much higher, but that's because we were given an increase in the amount of CHIPS money that we had to spend. So there was more money coming in for that than we had anticipated. And we kept the snow overtime and contractual line the same as this year. That we might have to increase if out of contingency if we see that there's need for a more snow work in the next winter coming up. Okay, for the parks section, we have cut the proposal here is to cut the full-time service of a parks person in the parks department. We do show a little bit of money left here, which could either be used for contractual or a part-time seasonal person for some of the parks work that needs to be done. We keep the amount here. This is to pay for the American Legion rental, which we have a contract for. We have contractual items of $24,000 in parks, which is for things that need to be purchased to take care of to maintain the parks. We show a small amount of money here for decorations and special projects, and landscaping we've cut to a lower number so that there would be no special projects, as you say, coming up. We've cut the recreation personal services to a nominal amount, thinking that we would not have a summer camp. So there's, if that's going to happen, we would see an increase in the amount of money and the revenue from people who are paying to use recreation services, and there would be a increase here as well, and the board would have to vote on that. In the contractual line for the recreation, we've left a small amount there for recreation. We've taken out the Halloween event, and we've cut the amount for the Mizzier Homestead to a lower amount. We have some money set aside for the Weed Do and the lake harvesting at $11,000. we show some amount here for Christmas. And we have taken out summer concerts out of this for this year. Okay, the board has been engaged in doing some planning, and it is shown here that would continue on. There's a comprehensive plan is nearly finished, and there is a zoning code rewrite that is happening right now, and that would come out of the planning contractual line. But the rest of this section would stay pretty much the same. And that pays for the planning board members and the zoning board members to come to the meetings. Here is the section where we have retirement and other benefits for employees. And so everybody knows that the stock market has been very unstable lately. So the way that the retirement system in New York State works is that there is a defined benefit plan. So there is a stated amount of money that retirees will get in the future. And so there is a portion of this that is paid by the employer on behalf of the employee, and there is a formula that determines what the amount that will have to be paid in, and it goes by the amount of salary that the employee makes during the year, but it also has something to do with the performance of the investments made by the retirement fund. And so we put in a healthy increase in the amount of money that we think that we will have to put in for this. So we say that we'll have to increase it by $23,000 for the employee retirement, and by $15,000 for the police and fire retirements, for $114,000. The length of service awards for the fire is usually put into less volatile investments, but we do put in an increase in here as well. Social Security is just a percentage of the total payroll in the entire budget. And so most of the budget is actually payroll, and it pays for the salaries of the police, highway, and other workers for the village and the court, and as well as on the administrative side and code enforcement. So you see $31,000 in the Medicare. This is the same as in the past. Workers' comp, we kept even at $125,000. These other items we kept even for unemployment and disability, although unemployment might go up. Hospital and medical insurance, we put in a healthy increase in there as well. So you see it going up about $30,000. So that's about a 10% increase in the hospital. And we kept the employee benefit line the same because it's usually pretty steady. The debt section, you see that this year we were able to, we received a grant for it was about $699,000 that we got for the Transportation Alternatives Program, and it paid for the principal down on a bond anticipation note. So you see that going down from $123,000 to $19,500. So and the bonds stay fairly steady. There was a slight increase. There was an increase in the principal being paid and a decrease in the interest, which just means that this debt was staying steady. So that is the A fund, and I just want to see if any of the trustees, most of you have talked to me about this, but if there's any questions at this point from the trustees.
Matt, go ahead, Scott.
No, go ahead, Ryan.
I just want to ask about the assistant treasurer. Are you gonna keep that line there for 18,720?
Yeah, so we're being reviewed by an auditor right now. And so there is a high probability that the treasurer and the two clerks will not be allowed to collect cash. So there would be a need possibly for there to be another person, another body that's able to receive cash when Anne Marie is not downstairs.
All that stuff you dropped.
Okay.
Scott?
Yeah, so is the summer program for the kids camp, is that definitely out, or?
No, I didn't say that. It's something that there are methods and ways that can address what's going on. Other towns have been putting plans into place. Cindy Latino, our recreation director, did make a phone call after I talked to her about my meeting with the county executive and the county staff that were on a conference call. That we have 2 conference calls a week with the mayors and supervisors and lots of other meetings. So there are ways to have a summer program, but I didn't put them in here because even if they end up having the summer program, I think it's I don't think there's a high degree of certainty about how many kids would sign up for it, how much it would cost, how much we would charge the kids. I think there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding summer programs. But there is a desire, Cindy Latino wants to put together a proposal that would be compelling to show that there can be enough social distance and put in place at a summer camp facility to allow for that kind of a program. She would also have to put together a budget and make sure that it's staffed at the right way and that there's the right procedures put in place for the camp. So if we did it, it would increase revenue by the same amount as it would increase expenditures. And if the plan was to not do that, the board would have to vote on whether or not to take some amount of money out of contingency and put it into that location. If, one of the things that's been brought up is that there are an awful lot of essential workers who still are in need of childcare. And this has become an important component of people's ability to live here. So that's something that we've taken into account. So this doesn't prohibit it, but it just says that we're not sure what that program would look like.
Yep, I'm with you.
Anything else on this?
No.
Okay. Okay, so we'll move into the water fund at this time. So the water fund, we this year just finished the sewer fund. We do have one more set of funded projects with the grant that we received in 2016 for the projects that we've been doing. So that is being worked on. That would happen in 2021 anyway. But there is principal and interest that needs to be paid. And so there have been increases in the principal and interest. We did get a grant, but we also were providing the match with another portion of this. So we received $3 million in grant funding, but we did more than that in actual work. So we were leveraging our money with grant money to get a bigger project done. So this shows the same increase that we've been getting every year. I will tell you that we are looking at what water customers will not be able to pay rent and won't be paying rent, and that could cause an uneven distribution of the increases. So everybody would get the same increase, but there would be, we would have to talk about assessing a special surcharge maybe onto the bill for a small amount overall for each customer to send in with their water payment. So it might be something like, for every 2 months, a $10 per month excess charge for COVID-19, because what we're seeing is that while all of the 41 restaurants that we have in the village have drastically reduced their customer base and their open hours, they've also drastically reduced the amount of water that they're using, and that will change our water situation drastically. So in order to make this number, we may have to change the rates. The water board would do that. Okay, and then the expenses, because we're still dealing with debt that we have for this program, and as well as the new water treatment facility, we still have fiscal agent fees. Legal fees would be part of the capitalized portion. The engineering fees would be necessary and would stay the same. We are still very concerned about the manganese content in our water, and we are looking at a filtration plant for both, for the reason of making sure that we watch out for everybody's health and safety in the village. We show a contingency here. We have the administrative portion stays pretty much the same. This is not just the water clerk, it's the grant writer, as well as the board members for the water board. There are office supplies. All of these numbers stay pretty much the same for these smaller numbers. We have fuel going down a little bit because we see a decrease in fuel possibly. The contractual items and the supplies stay basically the same. And you see a slight decrease in payroll. We do from time to time do what's called a well redevelopment, and we are scheduled to have a well redevelopment after June 1st for one of our 3 wells. And that's shown here. That won't come up every year, but that will either be $34,000 to $50,000, $60,000 each year. So this means that it's just 1 well. In years past, it's been higher because we did 2 wells. Okay, so down here you see a corresponding increase in benefits and health insurance, just like we discussed before. And you also see a change in the debt numbers. So you see we have moved some debt out of bands and into some of the EFC principal and interest payments that we've been making. And this goes back to the 2 things. It goes to the water treatment facility that we opened in 2012, as well as all of the infrastructure work that have been doing in the past 6 years. You see that this here is a transfer, and that's when money is moved from one fund to another for employees or services that have to do with more than one fund. And so that's what this number is about, and it's roughly equivalent to years past. Are there any questions about the water fund? Okay.
We're
going to talk about this in the water board.
Yes, absolutely.
Where's their payroll?
Oh, the payroll is right here. It's $190,000.
Oh, I see it. I'm sorry. I just couldn't find it.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the sewer fund, and the sewer fund shows a similar story. So the sewer fund has had work done, lots of work done, way more work. So about 3 times, almost 3 times as much infrastructure has been done in the sewer fund. And here you see that we know that we're moving into, we've been raising the rates at a small amount each year in order to keep them going. And so what we do here is we appropriate a portion of the fund balance from prior years to pay for some of the debt that we have going out. And we think that pretty soon that will be able to be flatlined. And so there won't be any infrastructure reason to keep increasing the rate. In the operations portion, you see engineering fees staying pretty much the same, and these numbers really stay very similar. So there's a contractual amount that we receive from another municipality for using a portion of the sewer. The disposal treatment numbers stay the same. The money that we send to Tri-Muni is actually decreased a little because our percentage has decreased. So we pay a lower amount overall.
There, if I could point out one thing. Can you hear me?
Yep.
The proposed budget 2019-20 up top, that should be, I would assume, 2021, correct?
The proposed budget is, so it's right here, it's 2020, 2021.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, at the lower, yes.
Yeah, at the department, yeah. At the expenses.
Yes, yeah, good catch. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so in the expense section, this should be 2020, 2021. I changed that here. And the treatment numbers stay pretty much the same, but down here you see the same story. You see we've actually closed this loan out, so the debt stays pretty much the same as it had been in years past. We do have a transfer to other funds for work done by employees and different funds, and so that comes out of this portion. And this is when highway workers work on sewer work, and so this is the sewer portion. Okay, are there any questions on sewer?
No.
And the garbage fund stays pretty much the same. It has a lower amount of penalties in years past. That obviously could be different this year. It shows approximately the same, payment that we've been making. There's a small increase budgeted here, and and then there is still a cleanup. So the idea was that we would have a cleanup. You see, last year we budgeted for a cleanup. We were hoping to do that this spring, and we will definitely have to move that forward. There's a lot of concerns around having a garbage cleanup and having how you would have the personnel picking up bulk items and not be putting themselves in danger. But we still have it scheduled for this next year, and so we've moved it over into this fiscal year. We did get one comment on the website about that. And so we also have transfers to other funds, and this would be for when the highway workers do the Monday rubbish pickup for the yard waste. And so that comes out of this fund because by law, our fund was set up to deal with both household and yard waste. Okay, are there any questions on this fund? I actually think that this budget proposal, we talked with the courts, we talked with fire, we talked with police, and we talked with zoning. And so I spoke with the clerk and the treasurer. Our new treasurer has been working on this budget a lot. So I think we are in pretty good shape. I think if there's not, this is the budget that I would propose gets put up for adoption on April 29th. But I'd like to give you guys a chance to look at it, and we'll be taking comments. We do have a budget discussion meeting scheduled for tomorrow night at 5 o'clock, Monday night, and Wednesday, the budget hearing. Just want to open it up for discussion and see what the board thinks about this and whether or not we should move forward with this budget.
What's the total percentage?
It's a 2% property tax cap increase.
Okay. I have no comment. Looks like we cut back a lot.
Yes. So are there any other comments from the board?
I'd just like to say with our future looks a little dim right now, and I really think that this is the best way to go until further notice, till everything starts straightening out a little bit.
Okay. So if there's no more discussion, I think I'd like to see if this be something that we put up for discussion at the April 29th budget hearing. Okay, so we will be taking
I have no problem, Mayor, as long as we're under the 2% tax cap.
Okay, we go right up to it, and the reason we go right up to it is because we are not sure if we will need that money for emergency services, if we will need it for a shortfall in county sales tax that's coming to us, or mortgage tax that's coming to us, or fines that are coming to us. So there's all kinds of reasons why we think that next year is going to be highly variable, and want to be able to keep back a portion of it and onto it. So would you guys be okay if we put this up for the budget adoption on April 29th?
Yeah, we'll look at it in the meantime. If we have anything, we'll address it then.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is leave the meeting scheduled, but we might cancel or postpone them. We do have and we'll put this up as the budget to be adopted for April 29th. We'll be taking comments from the public and until then. And so the way you make your comments right now would be you can make them official by going to our website and filling out the comment form that is on our website. And that's where you can make comments for this budget. Okay, is there anything else? I think that's all we have for this meeting. So if there's no other discussion about the budget, then I'd like to ask if we could get a motion to adjourn.
I'll make it.
Okay.
Go ahead, Blondie.
So I got a motion from Trustee Panessa. Could I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Komornick. All right, very good. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Got the vote.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Could I get and so all those in favor of adjourning?
bye.
Aye.
Thank you for not leaving. Okay. All right. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for all the hard work.